Given that the high cost of electricity was among the biggest issues heading into the June 7 Ontario election, it's alarming the proposed fixes by NDP leader Andrea Horwath and Progressive Conservative leader Doug Ford aren't any better than Premier Kathleen Wynne's. Wynne was first out of the gate last year with her so-called Fair Hydro plan, which, absurdly, spends $45 billion to save $24 billion on consumers' electricity bills, temporarily reducing hydro rates by 25% before sending them into the stratosphere. Ontario's Auditor General and Financial Accountability Office have criticised what they describe as the Liberal government's smoke-and-mirrors approach to lowering electricity bills, saying they used accounting tricks to keep the costs off the government's books, resulting in $4 billion more than necessary in interest payments over 30 years. While the PCs under former leader Patrick Brown and now Ford rightly attacked Wynne's Fair Hydro plan as reckless and irresponsible, they've since adopted it, claiming they can cut hydro bills by a further 12% in addition to Wynne's 25%. Ford has also promised his first act as Premier will be to fire the current Hydro One board and its $6.20 million a year CEO, a symbolic gesture enthusiastically welcomed by PC voters, but which won't do anything to lower electricity rates, or deal with the high cost of electricity generation, since Hydro One only distributes electricity, it doesn't produce it. Ditto NDP leader Andrea Horwath, who is appealing to NDP voters by promising her first act as Premier will be to pass legislation to begin buying back the 50.1% of Hydro One shares Wynne sold to the private sector. Horwath's promised to scrap Wynne's Fair Hydro plan, while still cutting hydro rates by up to 30%, this even though buying back Hydro One won't lower electricity rates and will cost the public about $6.4 billion today. The flaw in all three leaders' approaches is that they all promise lower electricity bills by using borrowed money that has to be paid back with interest, or by playing shell games with public money by transferring electricity costs from hydro consumers to taxpayers, and vice versa, ignoring that they're the same people. Both Ford and Horwath, for example, plan to spend the same money twice, Ford saying he'll use the $250 million annual dividend the province now gets from Hydro One as a minority shareholder to cut electricity rates, while Horwath says she'll use it to buy back control of Hydro One from the private sector. But these dividends are already being spent by the government on other programs and you can't spend the same money twice. The root problem, as energy consultant Tom Adams told the CBC earlier this year, is that we've gotten into a kind of a habit, politically, talking about electricity as if there are magic bullets to fix this. The different political parties are queuing up their promises to ratepayers, but the connection between those promises and the reality of our power situation gets more tenuous all the time, instead of acknowledging that the problems with Ontario's electricity system were decades in the making by governments of all stripes and will take decades to correct. Wynne, Ford and Horwath pretend that when it comes to electricity, here's such a thing as a free lunch. In reality, returning to sanity in our electricity market can only be achieved through years of fiscal discipline and proper planning, as opposed to pursuing the latest energy fad as the Liberals have done for 15 years. Ranging from unreliable, expensive and unneeded wind and solar power, to exorbitant feed and tariff pricing, to smart meters, all costly disasters the Liberals embarked on without doing a meaningful business plan or thorough cost-benefit analysis. The good news is if the polls are correct, Wynne and the Liberals will no longer be in power after the election. The bad news is if the PCs or NDP keep pretending there are simple solutions to our electricity crisis, things won't get any better.